Welcome back to Movies TV Mad. You can follow me on Twitter at Movies TV Mad, and welcome to today's show. So this is an interesting one from Screen Rant. DCEU is going big in 2023. Are they? That's news to me. So why are they holding so much back? So clearly they're asking the question, we'll get into this article in a minute, but they're asking the question, why was Shazam! Fury of the Gods and Black Adam the only trailers they took and panels they took to San Diego Comic-Con 2022? Well, do you want to tell them? Because I've been telling you for fucking months. Or shall I? Because no one wants to listen to me. Journalists, fans, it's like I'm banging my head on a brick wall. Anyway, so even though 2023 is said to make the DCEU bigger and better than ever, anyway, Warner Brothers and DC did very little to hype its releases at Comic-Con 2022. And these journalists are what? This is by Niall Gray of Screen Rant. It's already clear that the DC Extended Universe is set to expand significantly in scope in 2023. I tell you what, this journalist is on some heavy medication, right? But very little was done to promote the franchise's future at Comic-Con 2022. Though DC's big cinematic franchise may have gotten off to something of a shaky start, you think? Warner Brothers certainly appears to be willing to invest in the future of the DCEU. The early entries into the DCEU remain divisive, but they have still laid the foundations for a number of interesting and highly anticipated stories with appearances from multiple major DC characters in the works for future movies. The DCEU reveals for San Diego Comic-Con 2022 paled in comparison to those of its Marvel counterpart, but there were still teasers of DC's cinematic future. These came in the form of exciting reveals of elements of Black Adam and Shazam 2 trailer, both of them which are set to release in the latter half of 2022, though Black Adam will introduce one of DC's most powerful villains, and Shazam Fury of the Gods trailer has teased greater connectivity within the movies of the franchise's DC's Comic-Con focus being, let's say that again, DC's Comic-Con focus being specifically on its 2022 titles seem like an odd choice. It's pretty obvious, isn't it? Why they only brought two damn movies. They were supposed to release, they released the Batman. Black Adam was supposed to release this summer. Then we were supposed to have the Flash movie, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. 4 movies in 1 year. Was it really exciting? So 2 of those movies, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom and the Flash movie, have been delayed to next year, right? So it's pretty obvious, right? What's going on? Now, you're right, because Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom and the Flash movie, this Comic-Con was its last chance to be at Comic-Con. Unless they delay the movies again, which they will. Those 2 movies are, I would say, a clusterfuck for Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, but the Flash is in an almighty mess. And Batgirl finished production ages ago and still hasn't got a release date, or a trailer, or anything. So it's a mess. That's why they only brought 2 movies. You know this. Anyway, the lack of details regarding The Flash or Aquaman and The Lost Kingdom was a strange decision for the DC Comic-Con panel. It wasn't. It wasn't because they can't bring those movies. So far in the DCEU, The Flash and Aquaman have been 2 of its most important characters, with both heroes serving as founding members of the franchise's Justice League. And The Flash in particular is set to be the most important DCEU movie to date, due to its multiverse story expanding the scope of the franchise. Yes, that's what they were planning. But the film is in trouble for a multitude of reasons. We've explained that on this channel so many times. And surely, Mr. Screen Rant journalist, I mean, I know you're only a Screen Rant journalist, so I should kind of give you a pass. But it's pretty obvious why these movies didn't come to San Diego Comic-Con. The omission of details and reveals regarding the 2 2023 movies ultimately contributed to a disappointing DC panel at Comic-Con 2022 because it failed to address the franchise's ambitious and intriguing future. However, while the approach might seem confusing, it could also be a deliberate effort to both open up the DCEU to new characters and move the focus away from Zack Snyder's era. This doesn't make any fucking sense. Now, you would think, right, if you were a journalist that's a bit green behind the ears, right, and you don't know genuinely why those movies weren't brought to Comic-Con, right, you do some investigative reporting and you'd be telling your readers what I'm telling you, my viewers, right now. But oh no. Anyway, Let's carry on this clusterfuck of an article. 2023 is already set to be a pivotal year for the DCEU. The most obvious reason for this is the way in which The Flash is set to shake up the franchise by marking the reported final appearance of Ben Affleck's Batman and the introduction of Michael Keaton's Batman into the DCEU. In introducing the concept of alternate universes and travel between them, The Flash will open up the DCEU. That was the idea. It was a fun idea, but then they decided within that movie to delete our Superman, which is a shit idea, and Ezra Miller just went nuts. That's why no one from the Flash movie was at the panel, right? Anyway, increasing its scope and narrative potential massively. What's more, early test screenings for The Flash have it tipped as one of the best DC movies to date. I can tell you this is not true. I went to one of the test screenings of this movie, and I can tell you the reaction from people, not just at the test screening I was at, was mixed to mid. Meaning that it's one of the DCU's most anticipated movies. Kind of. Anyway, basically, this movie may never happen. At the very least, it could get extensive reshoots. That movie is in so much trouble. This guy is like a lot of fans I have to deal with. Deluded. Anyway, it's not all about the Flash multiverse story, though. Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom will continue the story of one of the DCEU's best regarded movies to date. With megastar Jason Momoa. Megastar? Wow. It's news to me. I love you, Jason. Are you a megastar anyway? Returning to fill the title role, 2023 will also finally see the release of Batgirl and Blue Beetle. Batgirl that doesn't have a release date. This guy's so deluded. Anyway, and Blue Beetle that comes out June, July. So that this year would have been the last chance for this film to have a San Diego Comic-Con as well, I think. The two popular DC heroes will also help flesh out the DCEU's ranks. The scope of the DCEU is set to expand massively in 2023, and with The Flash already being considered one of the franchise's best movies. What? You haven't seen The Flash yet. How can anyone regard this as one of the DCEU's best movies anyway? Let's repeat that. This is weird. This guy's weird. The scope of the DCEU is set to expand massively in 2023, and with The Flash already being considered one of the franchise's best movies. By who? Are you talking about the bullshit from test screenings? Oh dear. It's entirely possible that DC's cinematic franchise will rule 2023. Well, here's the problem. The Flash movie may not happen, right? The Batgirl movie hasn't got a release date. Those two movies are part of something that may never happen. You know, Batgirl could have been brought to, San Diego Comic-Con and show off and announce a release date. But they didn't do that. The Flash movie and Batgirl are in a lot of trouble because they're connected to each other. This guy is so deluded. From the way that Warner Brothers handled the DC panel at Comic-Con 2022, it's clear that they chose to ignore their huge 2023 releases by design, and the reasoning behind this is likely twofold. Perhaps the most obvious reason is that not doing so avoids shining a light on previous missteps. But they're going to have to market these movies eventually. So, but what are you talking about? What are you talking about? If these films are going to be released, they have to be marketed. So why would they hide the movies, right? There's no problem with the movies from one of the biggest conventions in the fucking world. The whole point of the Flash movie is to reboot the franchise. You're not making sense. This may also be the reason that Henry Cavill's Superman return wasn't announced at Comic-Con. The character's previous appearances have been divisive enough that focusing on that aspect of the franchise's future only reinforces the current perception of the DCEU. You're not making any sense. If Henry's Superman was back, they have to announce that sooner or later. Why does this show missteps? You're actually talking utter nonsense. However, Shazam is one of the DCEU's most well-received movies to date, and Black Adam and Shazam 2 both stem from a similar source. Importantly, one that isn't too close to the DCEU's previous heroes, allowing Warner Brothers to distance the DCEU's future from its past mistakes. But if Henry's Superman's coming back, again, you're illogical. You're talking, and honestly, I'm sorry I have to swear, but you're talking Utter shit. The other reason is that both The Flash and Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom focus on characters already established within the franchise. Oh, I know, we've got 2 established characters. Let's not fucking market them. You're talking bullshit. With 2022 introducing a number of new and exciting characters into the DCEU, including the Justice Society of America, that makes Black Adam crucial to the DCEU moving forward. That is true. Well, it depends how it does, and it depends what Zaslav is thinking. Of America, that makes Black Adam crucial to the DCEU moving forward. As such, it makes perfect sense to keep the focus primarily on Dwayne Johnson's titular character and the heroes of Shazam! Fury of the Gods. Listen, people have been coming, companies have been coming to Comic-Con, San Diego Comic-Con for years, and showing their slates and what they've got next. If there wasn't a problem with Batgirl, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom and the Flash movie, behind the scenes, internally, then those movies would have been there. Keeping the focus away from the DCEU's 2023 release may seem an odd choice. It is for Warner Brothers at Comic-Con 2022, but it was clearly a carefully planned decision. This guy, honestly, right? Stay off the meds. Stop eating magic mushrooms. Though it prevented any exciting announcements regarding the franchise's existing heroes and their future within the DCEU, it did serve to further build hype for Black Adam and Shazam! Fury of the Gods, but they could have done that by having the other movies there. Your logic is twisted. It's crap. Both which are key to the franchise's own future. By keeping tight-lipped about The Flash and Aquaman 2, Warner Brothers has subtly started to build a different sort of hype. Oh dear, for the DCEU's 2023, which is already shaping up to be a pivotal year for a franchise. I'm fucking speechless. And you know me, I'm never speechless. I'm effing speechless. This guy is talking utter shit. Right, sure, let's get his name. I like to know names, right? So let's go back up. I don't like wasting your time, yeah. So this is by Niall Gray. Right, Niall, I am going to school you. I'm going to educate you. The reason that Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom and the Flash movie were not at San Diego Comic-Con and why Batgirl wasn't there. Now, Batgirl has an excuse. Batgirl may not release till next Christmas of 2023. So forget Batgirl, if it ever happens. But Batgirl is connected to the Flash movie. Right. Anyway, so the Flash movie wasn't being marketed at San Diego Comic-Con because Ezra Miller has been arrested a multitude of times. He's on the run from the police and they're trying to hide that movie. Also, David Zaslav is not happy with the Flash movie. He's not happy about Superman Henry Cavill's deletion from the canon in that film and many, many issues in that film. There's a multitude of reasons why that Flash movie, Andy Muschietti's Flash movie, is in a lot of trouble. And that, my friend, is why it wasn't at San Diego Comic-Con. Not some deeply thought out marketing ploy. Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom has Amber Heard in it. We know all about Amber, right? And basically people are going to boycott that movie. They don't know what to do. Walter Hamada, the president of DC Films, tried to remove her. She had some kind of curveball at him and she was able to stay on the movie. They're still trying to get rid of her and find a way around it. I believe there'll be extensive reshoots. And I believe there'll be extensive reshoots for the Flash movie. This delays these 2 movies, by the way. And it delays Batgirl as well. Because I think that film may need extensive reshoots as well. So, Niall, if that's your name, right? Niall, I'm sure you're a lovely boy, lovely man. But you should retire from journalism. Honestly. Because that's the reason these films are not happening. So the Flash is connected to Batgirl. So Batgirl, that's why Batgirl has had no release date. It's obvious, it's blatant, it's what my sources say to me, because when I heard many months ago that the Flash movie and Aquaman and Lost Kingdom had these problems, right, and I knew this before anyone else did, I did some investigative reporting. I'm not a paid up reporter, but I wanted to bring you, my subscribers and my viewers, the facts. And I have. And also what I think about this issue. I am so confident about my views on the Flash movie, Batgirl and Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. This isn't... Right, listen. Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, one of the reasons it was delayed was for VFX. That's genuine. James Wan is very strict. He's a perfectionist, and I respect that. Instead of having a sweatshop like the Marvel Cinematic Universe that gets to whip and whips the VFX artists every time they slow down, right? And I mean, we heard from someone yesterday saying that they'll change their minds about the VFX in the third act and get them to do it all again and rush them. It's terrible. So at least WB in that sense take their time. They don't put the VFX companies under pressure. It's great. And Aquaman has got the Amber Heard issue as well. Aquaman is in less trouble than Batgirl and the Flash movie. So this is the situation, and if you just did some research instead of trying to make excuses for the studio and saying it's the biggest year ever, at this moment in time, from what I can see, the only film they can really release, and I mean, excuse me if I'm wrong, is Blue Beetle. That's the only film I think they can release next year. I mean, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, if it makes its decision, can kind of release later on in the year. They know, listen, it's simple. People are not going to watch Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. And yes, Zachary Levi is a supporter of Amber Heard as well. So that's a problem. But I mean, Zachary's dumb. I mean, I'm sorry. I love him and everything. Great in Chuck, great as Shazam, great artist, great actor. But he talks too much. He spoke out against the Snyder Cut a few years back. He's a bit of a fool, if you ask me. But, so you better be careful because, you know, boycotts could happen there. I don't think boycotts on Shazam Fury of the Gods will be big enough to worry about. But yeah, so this is a crap article. I've yet again explained to you why these movies weren't there, why they only had 2 movies, because behind the scenes, the DCEU is having lots of changes. David Zaslav is making decisions on what stays and what goes. And, you know, he spoke about Black Adam and Shazam being the future of the DCEU only, and this is a fact, only if they're successful and the audiences enjoy those films. So at the end of the day, it's up to you, the public, what happens to Black Adam and the Shazam universe. Did you think we were done with our friend Niall Gray from Screen Rant? No! Because he's got another shit take. Let's check it out. The DCEU can't recast Superman, but needs to change Cavill's character. Before we start, if you need to change Henry Cavill's Superman, you may as well recast him. Am I wrong? I mean, even if you support Henry, I support Henry, but you need to change it. It's not going to work, changing his Superman, because the films are a catalogue and record of his Superman thus far. Changing that is rather problematic. And what you do is in the black suit, the red and blue suit, it's fucking difficult with Henry Cavill, unless you restore the Snyderverse. And who knows? Who knows? Anyway. Though Superman's future in the DCEU is uncertain, keeping Henry Cavill in the role is absolutely essential if the franchise is to fix its problems. By Niall Gray of Screen Rant. Though the future of Henry Cavill's Superman remains largely unknown, the DCEU can't afford to recast the character. Well, that's debatable. Although it does need to make significant changes in order to fix its worst mistakes, the DCEU got its start in 2013 with Man of Steel, and though Superman is the franchise's founding hero, his place within the universe is something of a point of contention. Although Superman himself is perhaps the most iconic figure in all of pop culture, and undeniable epitome, whatever that says, of the modern superhero, the way that the DCEU has handled the character so far has been nothing short of disastrous. Well, look, it is a bit it's a bit divisive. It is. I'm not going to lie. I enjoy the take. It's a darker take. It's more of a modern day take, if you like, and it's not the bright blue Boy Scout. That's true. Preferably, they probably shouldn't have gone down this direction, even though I enjoyed it. If you want to make money and you want to ignore people going absolutely nuts about it. Though the DCEU's version of Superman has so far proved divisive, the fault certainly doesn't lie with the actor. Henry Cavill's Superman may not have been handled very well within the DCEU, but the actor's ability to embody the character isn't in question. In fact, Cavill's turn as Superman is broadly praised and almost universally enjoyed. In spite of the fact that the DCEU has repeatedly wasted his potential, after Man of Steel, Cavill reprised the role in Batman vs Superman Dawn of Justice and Justice League, and the door is seemingly open for his return, even though his future in the franchise looks relatively uncertain. Despite talk of Warner Brothers potentially recasting Superman for the DCEU or replacing the character entirely, this would be a major mistake. Agreed. Henry Cavill's potential in the role is far too great to continue to be wasted, and discarding his version of the character would perhaps be the biggest DCEU mistake Warner Brothers could make. Instead of readjusting their approach to the character's tone and his stories within the franchise and fix the DCEU's issues, and keeping Henry Cavill in the role will be a vital part of this redemption. Defending the DCEU is something of a difficult task simply because the franchise is so incredibly divisive. One inarguable point in the DCEU's favour, though, is the way that it has managed to make Superman a central character. Yes, Superman should be a central character. Unfortunately, now we're well past the apocalypse, and having a man, a proper man, right? A man's man as the central character is problematic to these extremists over in Hollywood. A central character within its world, because he's such an important hero, both culturally and in terms of his in-universe power level, that doing anything else simply wouldn't have worked. Superman's importance to the DCEU reflects his real-life cultural relevance, and that's not something that should be lost. Superman's importance to the franchise may stem from an inherent part of the character, but the controversial Batman v Superman doubled down on it by having Superman be the reason for Batman's early formation of the Justice League, where it not for Superman and the Kryptonian threat in Man of Steel, Bruce Wayne wouldn't have sought out other heroes, and therefore the DCEU wouldn't exist in the same way. By having Superman's story so tied up within the very fabric of the DCEU, dropping Cavill's Superman would be a terrible creative decision, especially as his story is far from over after his role in Justice League. As Henry Cavill's Superman has been so pivotal to the DCEU's story so far, replacing him by introducing a new Superman would only complicate matters. It's only complicated if we continue with the DCEU. Zaslav may decide to start again. Casting a new Superman for the DCEU would be a thankless task, not just because of Cavill's performance has been generally well received, but also because it would leave significant plot holes or cause messy continuity issues. Perhaps the most natural way to do so would be to make use of the Flash's multiverse story to bring an alternate Superman into the franchise, much like it will do with Batman, but this wouldn't fix the DCEU's problems. That would make sense, Niall, to actually give us another version of Superman. But they're not going to do that. They're going to replace him with Supergirl. Thus far, right? Zaslav isn't happy about this. Nobody's happy with this. That wasn't involved in the creation of this, but that was their plan. What you're saying, Niall, actually is logical. So far, the DCEU's biggest issues have been a lack of consistency. Its often criticised overly dark, gritty tone has been occasionally dropped in favour of more light-hearted fare, and even though the Suicide Squad, Shazam and Peacemaker have all been better received as a result, it's led to the general tone varying wildly between instalments. Fixing Superman's movie problem is something that the DCEU needs to work towards by correcting the tone of its current version, rather than simply reinventing or reintroducing a new version of Superman, because simply putting a new actor in Cavill's place wouldn't resolve the tonal issues that continue to plague the franchise. That's why the franchise, in my opinion, should be deleted. That's why I think it should be rebooted and start again, and not via a Flash movie. The most significant way that the DCEU has created a problem with its Superman, it's largely in the way the character has been approached. Though the emphasis on his extraterrestrial origins have provided a fresh take on the story, they have also created a tonal problem that has marred Superman's very appearance in the DCEU. As Man of Steel got Superman all wrong. Did it? Really? The character was then difficult to redeem in subsequent appearances, as too much emphasis was placed on the darker and grittier side of the character so early in his narrative. Though the dark, brooding nature of the DCEU Superman may be a problem, the solution lies with the very actor portraying him. Henry Cavill himself demonstrates many of the qualities that Superman should possess. Humility, compassion and strength. Perhaps most importantly, Cavill is well known for his charm and his willingness to study the source material of his characters, meaning that by both listening to his input and making Superman a little more like Cavill himself, the DCEU's problem of injecting needless angst into certain stories and characters will become a thing of the past. It's true, Henry Cavill has the personality of Clark Kent and Superman, He does have the charm. Niall is right. Ultimately, saving the DCEU after Man of Steel's missteps in representing Superman's origins goes far deeper than simply changing the character or its actor. Though correcting its approach to the character is a must if the DCEU is going to secure any lasting success, The Man of Tomorrow is simply one example of a far greater issue. The ideas behind the wider franchise have so far seemed incredibly confused. Its combination of great many finer points that have led to this overall inconsistency, and there's something that needs to be adjusted moving forward. Its inconsistency is because they've had so many different people running it. Christopher Nolan godfathered The Man of Steel. Zack Snyder godfathered Batman vs Superman and his Justice League movie. Jonathan Berg helmed a lot of it after that. And then we got Walter Hamada. So we've had, 4 or 5 different leaders in this franchise. Of course it's going to be inconsistent. Fixing the issues with Superman is key, but keeping Cavill in the role is essential if the DCEU is to overcome its problems. Though the DCEU's faceless Superman cameos have raised doubts about Henry Cavill's continued involvement in the franchise, he has already proven that he is the perfect actor to play Superman. It's the smaller details behind the scenes issues that have undermined his potential thus far, and fixing those problematic components of Superman's character would only work properly if Henry Cavill resumes his role in the DCEU. There's been many times in television shows, in movies, where there's been recasts that have worked successfully. It's true. Sometimes recasts don't work. The problem is here, he's right, the DCEU is inconsistent because it has so many people running it. And it's just gone so many different directions, we're all dizzy. Everyone behind the scenes is dizzy, and we're dizzy. And the only logical step is to start again, I think. Or, try and relaunch it via Shazam and what James Gunn's doing with the Suicide Squad. Or you just start again. Starting again is the logical option here. And yes, recasting all the characters, including Superman. I love Henry Cavill as Superman, I do. And he's been unlucky. And I'm sorry about that. Ben Affleck has been unlucky as Batman. But sometimes you have to shrug your shoulders and say, this fucking shit hasn't worked out. And really, the realistic thing to do is just start the DCEU again. I fear they're not going to do this, but I think that's what they should do. As we go back to the original article, not this one, but the one before it, the Flash movie is in trouble. Batgirl is in trouble. Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom has got its own problems. And, it's because we started with Zack Snyder and then they got rid of him and they tried to do Justice League, then they tried to do that. It's been one misstep after the other. There has to come a point where you say, do you know what? This simply isn't working. Let's get a competent person or people to run a brand new DC Extended Universe. Well, if you thought the last journalist was a hot taker, this one is taking the piss. By Kevin Erdman, or whatever his name is. Who needs the Justice League? DCEU already has 2 perfect replacements. While the Justice League is gradually being left in Warner Bros. Rear view, there are already 2 epic teams being set up to replace them in the DCEU. While Justice League looks to be squarely in Warner Bros. Rear view, the DCEU already has 2 new teams being set up to replace it in 2022. We'll see the release of both Black Adam starring Dwayne Johnson and Shazam Fury of the Gods starring Zachary Levi. Both characters will be joined by an extensive cast of fellow heroes who can easily fill the void left by the DC's primary team of defenders. With no plans to continue the DCEU envisioned by director Zack Snyder following the release of Zack Snyder's Justice League, Warner Bros. Has been pivoting its upcoming DCEU films in an all-new direction. For example, it's widely expected that 2023's The Flash will bring bring forth a soft reboot for the DCEU by creating a new timeline. Yes, that was the idea, but that idea is gone. Dead before it started. Gone before the creation of man. What don't you understand? You are journalists. If I know this, why don't you? It's utterly frustrating. So, let's go. Yeah, so bring forth a soft reboot for the for the DCEU by creating a new timeline, giving Warner Brothers more freedom to move forward without needing to acknowledge the prior narratives of Zack Snyder's DC films. That was the idea. For example, Michael Keaton is returning as Batman in The Flash and is expected to make more appearances in the DCEU beyond effectively replacing Ben Affleck's Dark Knight. Furthermore, new teams are already being introduced as dynamic replacements for the league. Let me ask you a quick question unrelated to this, because something's just sprung to my mind, and I'm a bit of a random guy. So, okay, you know this anyway, but in a post-credit scene for the Flash movie, we get a kind of reverse on the whole kind of, like in BVS when the Flash comes to Batman and warns him and all of that. Am I too soon? All of that. It's awesome, right? Well, in the Flash movie, there's a post-credit scene, but this time, Batfleck, through a screen or whatever, right, comes to the Flash and says, "You have to find us, Barry." And I'm wondering, it's an interesting thing, because everyone's saying they were kind of teasing Final Crisis. But what if they were trying to get rid of Ezra Miller as well by doing that storyline? What if Ezra Miller's The Flash does go looking for Batman and he just gets trapped in the Snyderverse with Batman and Cavill? Do you get it? Maybe that was the plan all along. Comment down below and let me know what you think. Anyway, releasing on October 21st, 2022, Black Adam will see Dwayne Johnson's anti-hero encountering the Justice Society of America. This team will include Hawkman, Dr. Fate, Atom Smash and Cyclone. However, there may be more JSA members who simply won't be featured in this initial film, wanting Black Adam to join their ranks. The power levels of the JSA could easily rival those of the Justice League. Likewise, December's 2022 Shazam Fury of the Gods confirms that Billy Bass and his foster family are still operating as the Shazam family, having become established heroes in Philadelphia. Wielding the magic and powers of gods, the teams of kids turned adult heroes is also a force to be reckoned with in the DCEU now. Shall I tell you where this kind of theory falls down? Could the Shazam family take Darkseid? Maybe the JSA, but it depends what members of the JSA they are. I think the ones in Black Adam are not even strong enough to take on Darkseid and the New Gods. You know, I mean, just think about the two characters this DCEU Justice League has. Wonder Woman and Superman. Now, they could take on Darkseid very easily. So, mate, I'm afraid what you're saying is nonsense. While the new Shazam 2 trailer sees Billy Batson comparing himself to Justice Leaguers like Flash, Aquaman and Batman while ignoring Superman, I've explained that already in past videos. This film was going to be released after The Flash, after the multiverse strategy, when Superman would have been deleted and replaced by Supergirl. That's why he's not mentioned. And Batman, it certainly feels like it's time to move on. While this transition away doesn't have to be indefinite, the current era of the DCEU has plenty of other exciting teams to take the sting out of the Justice League's absence. Even the Suicide Squad could be included as a third team, presuming Bloodsport, Harley Quinn, King Shark and Ratcatcher 2 are still sticking together after fighting Starro in 2021's The Suicide Squad. Well, I think we are going to checkmate now, considering what happened in Peacemaker when Amanda Waller's daughter outed her. So I think we're going to something different. But yeah, the Suicide Squad is a great group, but it's not the Justice League. The bloody criminals. No one should expect Warner Brothers to leave DC's premier team of heroes on the bench forever. However, there are enough other films and exciting superpowered groups, as evidenced at San Diego Comic-Con 2022, that the DCEU's Justice League franchise and its future could afford to take a break from the spotlight. Currently, all eyes can and should be focused both on the new Justice Society of America and the return of the Shazam family coming later this year. Look, they're two good little teams, but they're not going to replace the Justice League. That was a bit of a pointless article. The other two had a bit of bite to them, but yeah, basically it's nonsense. You can't. He's not suggesting that the Justice League should be gone for good, but he's saying these two teams could, replace the Justice League. The Justice League are there basically to face, really powerful threats. That's why Batfleck brings the Justice League together in Zack Snyder's Justice League, because, Steppenwolf's coming, Darkseid's coming. They're very dangerous, extraterrestrial threats. And I'm sorry, the Shazam family and the current JSA are just not going to cut it. Just finishing off today's video, and just to say that, look, we will understand that the DCEU is in a bit of a mess, and it's been in a bit of a mess since 2013's Man of Steel, and they've dug deeper and deeper holes for each other. We've explained those reasons to you many, many times, and it's not about me hating Zack Snyder. It's not. But I just don't think he's a director for a commercial franchise, and it was a weird decision to make from the very beginning. So we've changed direction so many times, it's like going round the roundabout constantly. So now we've got new leadership at Warner Brothers, and we're getting new chairship at Warner Brothers Pictures. Two people are coming in. So DeLuca's coming in and Abby's coming in. They're going to work together. It's going to take a very long time to sort out Warner Brothers Pictures and the DCEU. And there's going to be wholesale changes in DC. I don't know what their plans are, and this is part of the reason you only got 2 movies. What I was trying to explain earlier with Niall's article. Nobody really knows what they're planning. Does the DCEU stay or go? I suspect they want Aquaman, let's start again. I suspect they want Black Adam and Shazam to make as much money as possible. But I think that David Zaslav's pretty sure that he needs to do something new. Either a brand new connected franchise or just basically do standalone movies. And I don't know if you continue the DCEU but make it standalone or you start again. I would suspect the best thing to do here is definitely to start again. This has been Movies TV Mad with me, Mick, your host with the most. Just ask your girlfriends and your wives. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you never miss this beautiful perfection. And I'll see you on Thursday's show. I know parting is sweet sorrow, but until we see each other again, goodbye, au revoir, auf Wiedersehen.